year 44 BC, a 19-year-old boy received news that would change the course of history. His adoptive father, the most powerful man in Rome, had just been murdered. He had no army, no money, no political allies, and the men who had killed his father still walked freely through the streets of the capital. What followed was stranger still. A man who would end the Roman Republic and be celebrated for saving it. This is the story of how that boy became the first emperor of Rome. Gaius Octavius was born on the 23rd of September, 63 BC, into a wealthy but non-noble Roman family. His father was a senator of modest rank. His mother, Attia, was the niece of Julius Caesar, and it was through that connection that a different fate began to take shape. Caesar was known to observe those around him carefully, and in his young great-nephew he saw something others had overlooked, a sharp, disciplined mind behind a quiet exterior. He arranged for the boy's education and kept him close. What Caesar intended for him, we can only partly know. But the fact that he named Octavius as his primary heir in his private will suggests the connection ran far deeper than mere family obligation. On the 15th of March, 44 BC, the Ides of March, Julius Caesar was stabbed 23 times on the floor of the theater of Pompey by a group of senators who called themselves liberators. He died at the base of a statue of his old rival. The will was read publicly days later. Gaius Octavius, studying in Apollonia across the Adriatic, learned two things at once: that his great-uncle was dead, and that he had been posthumously adopted as his son and primary heir. He was 19 years old. The inheritance was vast in name and almost entirely beyond his grasp in practice. Octavian crossed into Italy and arrived in Rome in the spring of 44 BC. What he found was a city already moving on without him. Mark Antony, Caesar's most senior general, had seized control of the treasury, taken possession of Caesar's private papers, and positioned himself as the natural successor to Caesar's political legacy. He had little interest in sharing that position with a teenager he considered inexperienced and easily managed. Octavian was polite, persistent, and far more patient than Antony expected. He began paying out the cash bequests Caesar had promised to Roman citizens from his own borrowed funds, a calculated act of generosity that the city noticed. By 43 BC, the tension between Octavian and Antony had hardened into open confrontation. The Senate, guided in large part by the orator Cicero, saw an opportunity: use Octavian's veterans and his inherited loyalty to Caesar's name as a weapon against Antony. They granted the young heir emergency military powers and sent him north alongside the two serving consuls to face Antony at Mutina. The battles were hard fought. Antony was driven back, but both consuls died in the fighting, and Octavian emerged as the sole surviving commander of a large, battle-tested army. The Senate had handed him exactly the instrument he needed. What the Senate had not anticipated was that Octavian had no intention of being their instrument. With Antony weakened but not destroyed, and the Senate showing signs of wanting to reduce his power, Octavian made a move that shocked Rome. He turned his legions around and marched them directly toward the capital. It was an act of raw force, the kind Julius Caesar himself had used when he crossed the Rubicon a generation before. The Senate, suddenly without sufficient troops to resist, capitulated. Octavian was elected consul. He was 20 years old. He was also for the first time in a position to deal with Antony not as an enemy, but as a potential partner. In October of 43 BC, the three most powerful men in the Roman world met on a small island in a river near Bononia. Octavian, Antony, and Marcus Lepidus agreed to share power in what became known as the Second Triumvirate. Unlike earlier informal arrangements, this one was ratified by law, granting the three men joint dictatorial authority over the Roman state for 5 years. The Republic, already faltering, effectively ceased to function as its founders had intended. Rome now had 3 rulers, each watching the others carefully, each knowing that the arrangement could not hold forever. But, for the moment, they had one shared priority: settling old scores. Within weeks of the triumvirate's formation, the proscriptions began. Lists of enemies, senators, knights, political rivals were posted publicly across Rome. Those named were stripped of their property and condemned to death. Estimates suggest several hundred senators and over 2,000 members of the equestrian class were killed. Among the most prominent was Cicero, the orator who had championed Octavian against Antony only months before. He was caught fleeing Rome and executed in December of 43 BC. His hands, which had written so many speeches, and his head were displayed publicly in the Forum. For Octavian, who owed Cicero so much, the decision to allow it revealed something unsentimental at the core of who he was. Survival, it seems, had its price. The next priority was the East. The surviving assassins of Julius Caesar, Brutus, and Cassius had raised substantial armies in Greece and Macedonia. In October of 42 BC, Octavian and Antony confronted them at Philippi in 2 separate engagements fought weeks apart. The campaign was hard. Octavian was reportedly ill during the first battle and performed poorly in the field. Antony bore much of the fighting, but the outcome was decisive. Cassius, believing the battle lost prematurely, died by his own hand. Brutus held on for a second engagement, and when that too failed, he followed. The men who had killed Caesar were gone. The way forward was clear, though it was not yet clear who would walk it alone. Victory at Philippia left the triumvirate masters of the Roman world, but it immediately created a new and urgent crisis. Octavian had promised land to roughly 100,000 veteran soldiers who expected to be settled in Italy. Land had to come from somewhere. He chose 18 prosperous Italian towns whose territory was confiscated and redistributed to the troops. The dispossessed landowners had little recourse. Anger and resentment spread across the peninsula. Octavian's hold on Italy was real, but deeply unpopular, and that unpopularity was about to be weaponized against him. In 41 BC, opposition to the land confiscations crystallized into open revolt. Antony's brother Lucius and his wife Fulvia raised an army in Italy and moved against Octavian, positioning themselves as defenders of the dispossessed. Octavian besieged their forces at the hilltop city of Perusia through the winter. By the spring of 40 BC, starvation had accomplished what swords had not. Perusia fell. Lucius was spared. Fulvia fled to Greece, where she died soon after. The revolt had failed, but its deeper message was hard to ignore. Holding Italy by force alone was not the same as governing it. The end of the Perusian revolt brought both men back to the negotiating table. Antony returned from the east, and after a brief standoff at the port of Brundisium, a new agreement was reached. The Treaty of Brundisium in 40 BC formally divided the Roman world once more. Antony would govern the wealthy eastern provinces, Octavian the western ones, and Lepidus would retain Africa. To seal the peace, Antony, recently widowed, married Octavia, Octavian's sister. For a brief moment, the Roman world appeared stable. It would not remain so for long. While Octavian was managing Italy, another threat had been tightening its grip. Sextus Pompey, son of Caesar's old rival Pompey the Great, had established control over Sicily and parts of Sardinia. From there, his fleet harassed Roman merchant shipping and blocked the grain supply that fed the city of Rome. Hunger in the capital was Octavian's problem to solve. In 39 BC, he negotiated the Treaty of Misenum with Sextus, offering recognition and partial peace in exchange for an end to the blockade. But the agreement broke down quickly. By 38 BC, the two were at open war again, a war Octavian was initially losing at sea. Octavian recognized that he needed a better navy and a better admiral. He turned to his closest friend and most trusted general, Marcus Agrippa. Agrippa spent months constructing a new harbor in the Bay of Naples, training crews and refitting ships with new technology. On the 2nd of September, 36 BC, the rebuilt fleet met Sextus Pompey's forces off the coast of Sicily, near now Locus. The battle was decisive. Pompey's fleet was shattered. He fled east and was later captured and executed. In that same year, Octavian turned on the third member of the triumvirate, Lepidus, who had brought his African legions into the campaign and then attempted to use them to seize Sicily for himself, was stripped of all power and sent into internal exile. The triumvirate was now a partnership of two. In the east, Antony had grown increasingly entangled with Cleopatra, the Queen of Egypt. She had first entered his life as a political ally and supplier of resources. What developed between them became something considerably more. In 34 BC, at a grand ceremony in Alexandria, Antony formally allocated vast Roman territories to Cleopatra and their children in what became known as the Donations of Alexandria. He recognized their sons as rulers over regions that Rome considered its own domain. Octavian watched closely. The opportunity to frame Antony not merely as a rival, but as a Roman who had surrendered himself and Roman territory to a foreign queen was too valuable to leave unused. Octavian's campaign against Antony was fought with words before it was fought with weapons. He obtained, reportedly by illegal means, what he claimed was Antony's private will, held in trust by the Vestal Virgins, and read it aloud before the Senate. The will reportedly stated that Antony wished to be buried in Alexandria beside Cleopatra. Roman audiences received this with outrage. Octavian framed the coming conflict not as a civil war between Romans, but as a defensive war against a foreign queen who had corrupted a Roman general. The Senate stripped Antony of his command. War was declared, not on Antony, but on Cleopatra. The distinction was deliberate and politically essential. On the 2nd of September, 31 BC, the two sides met off the western coast of Greece near the promontory of Actium. Antony and Cleopatra had assembled a large fleet and substantial land forces. Octavian's fleet, under Agrippa's command, had spent weeks bottling them up and cutting their supply lines. By the day of battle, Antony's forces were already weakened by disease and desertion. The engagement was sharp. Cleopatra's squadron broke through the Roman lines and sailed south toward Egypt. Antony followed her, abandoning the battle. His remaining fleet surrendered. His land army, leaderless and supplied with nothing, capitulated days later. The final civil war of the Roman Republic ended, not with a last stand, but with a fleet slipping away on the open sea. Octavian followed them to Egypt. In August of 30 BC, as Roman forces closed in on Alexandria, Antony received a false report that Cleopatra had already died. He fell on his own sword. He did not die immediately, and was carried, badly wounded, to her side. She was alive. He died there, in her presence. Octavian took Cleopatra into custody, intending to bring her to Rome, where she would march in chains in his triumph. She did not give him that satisfaction. Days later, she was found dead in her chamber. Whether by snakebite or another means has never been established with certainty. She was 39 years old. With her death, the Ptolemaic dynasty, which had ruled Egypt for 3 centuries, came to its end. Octavian moved swiftly to secure Egypt. He did not hand it to the Senate as a standard Roman province. Instead, he governed it directly through a personal representative, keeping its revenues among the largest of any territory in the ancient world. Under his personal control, Egypt's grain fed Rome. Egypt's gold paid his armies. He used that wealth to discharge veteran debts, fund public works, and establish a financial security that underpinned everything that followed. After 2 decades of civil war, Octavian stood alone. Every rival was dead or neutralized. The Roman world had one master. The question now was, what to call him? In January of 27 BC, Octavian appeared before the Senate and made a remarkable declaration. He announced that he was restoring all extraordinary powers to the Senate and the Roman people, resigning his commands and returning to private life. The gesture was almost certainly rehearsed. The Senate responded, as he had likely anticipated. They refused, granted him sweeping authority over the military provinces where Rome's legions were stationed, and bestowed upon him an honorific title no Roman had ever carried before. They called him Augustus, meaning the revered one, the consecrated. It was not a political office. It was something older and more powerful, a statement of moral and sacred authority. He had transformed himself from a warlord into something approaching a consecrated figure of the state. What Augustus built over the following decades was a system of extraordinary subtlety. He held multiple offices simultaneously: tribunician power, proconsular command, the informal authority of first citizen, each individually grounded in republican precedent, but together amounting to something entirely new. The Senate continued to meet. Elections continued to be held. The language of the Republic was preserved with care, but Augustus controlled the armies, the treasury, and the key provinces. He was, in his own words, the first among equals. What he had created was not a monarchy in any traditional sense, but something the Roman world had no existing word for. Historians would later call it the Principate. Rome itself was transformed. Augustus launched an extensive building program that reshaped the physical face of the capital. He built the Forum of Augustus and the Temple of Mars altar, dedicated to the divine avenger of Caesar's death. He restored dozens of older temples and funded the construction of roads, aqueducts, and public buildings across the empire. He is said to have claimed that he found Rome a city of brick and left it a city of marble. The claim was not entirely wrong. The monuments he commissioned communicated a clear message that Augustus had brought order, piety, and permanence to a city that had nearly torn itself apart. The cultural life of Rome flourished in these decades in a way that would not be equaled for centuries. Virgil composed the Aeneid, an epic poem that traced Rome's origins to the Trojan hero Aeneas and tied the destiny of the city to the Julian family. Horace wrote odes that celebrated Roman virtue and the new order. Ovid explored mythology and love with a wit that even Augustus could not entirely suppress, though he would eventually try. Coordinating much of this literary patronage was Gaius Maecenas, a close ally of Augustus, whose name became synonymous with cultural sponsorship. Art and literature, in the Augustan age, were not merely decorative, they were instruments of legitimacy, carefully cultivated. Augustus also turned his attention inward, to Roman society itself. A series of laws addressed what he characterized as a crisis of traditional values, declining marriage rates, falling birth rates among the citizen class, and what he described as moral looseness among the Roman elite. The Julian laws on marriage and adultery made private matters into public ones. Adultery became a criminal offense. Remarriage after divorce was encouraged, and families with children received legal advantages. The reforms were controversial and only partly effective. Even within his own family, Augustus could not enforce the standards he had imposed publicly. His daughter Julia was eventually exiled for conduct that directly contradicted her father's legislation. The worst moment of the reign came not in the Roman Forum, but in the forests of Germania. In 9 AD, 3 full Roman legions, roughly 15,000 men, marched into the Teutoburg forest under the command of Publius Quintilius Varus. They were led into an ambush carefully prepared by a Germanic chieftain who had previously served in the Roman army and understood Roman tactics with lethal precision. Over 3 days, the legions were systematically destroyed in the dense woodland. Almost none escaped. When the news reached Augustus in Rome, those close to him described a man undone by grief. He reportedly refused to shave, went without sleep, and was heard crying out in the night. 3 legions were never reconstituted. Rome would not expand east of the Rhine. The question of succession tormented the later years of the reign. Augustus had no biological son and seemed to lose each person he chose in a pattern that felt almost inexorable. His nephew Marcellus died at 20 years of age. His grandsons Gaius and Lucius Caesar, adopted and groomed as heirs. Both died young, Lucius in 2 AD, Gaius in 4 AD. Each death forced a revision of plans. In 4 AD, Augustus finally adopted his stepson Tiberius, a capable and experienced general who was not his first choice, nor his second, nor perhaps his third. Tiberius accepted the role dutifully and with visible reluctance. He would prove a difficult successor. Augustus died on the 19th of August, 14 AD, at Nola in Campania, at the age of 75. He had governed in effect for more than 40 years. He died in the company of his wife Livia, whom he had married nearly half a century before, and who had remained a constant and composed presence throughout his rule. His reported final words were characteristic of the man. He asked those present whether he had played his part well in the comedy of life, and if so, to give him their applause as he left the stage. It was the exit of a man who had understood from the very beginning that power was also performance. He had played his role without interruption for 4 decades and had not once let the mask slip in public. The Senate voted to deify him as Divius Augustus, the divine Augustus. Shortly after his death, Tiberius assumed power without civil war, without crisis, and without interruption. The system Augustus had constructed was strong enough to survive its own creator. His name, Augustus, passed into the Latin language as a title. Every emperor who followed him would bear it. The month of August still carries his name today. He had arrived in Rome as a teenager to claim an inheritance in a city that barely knew him. He left behind an empire, a form of government, and a name that echoed through 2,000 years. Whatever else he was, and the record is genuinely complicated, Rome did not forget him. And that's it. Thank you for watching. The next story is waiting for you right here. Subscribe so you're always the first to know. Thanks for being part of this story. See you in the next one.